We go. Alrighty, so welcome to Flipchart Flow. For those of you who don't know me, I'm Nadia. I'm a business development manager for Thermomix up in Cairns. And today I'm going to share with you just a simple guide to the cooking experience and how that flipchart can actually support you. So I'm really grateful that you've taken the time to join us today. And really, you know, invent your business coming back into the new year or create momentum. So thank you so much. Let's have a look at the flow together. Alrighty, so we want to guide you through the cooking experience flip chart so that you can feel the easy flow of conversation that it inspires to gain that genuine connection with the guests you seek to serve. In doing so, build a business with heart. We want you to build a business with heart because we know that that's how you build a successful business. So can I just ask you to pop into the chat box, you know, what's your intention for actually being here today? What would you like to take away from this training? While you guys are doing that, I think the reason that I asked that is because I think it's really important to understand what it is that you want out of it so that hopefully we can tick those boxes by the end of the training. I think have a look at, by the end of this, you know, what we want to see differently at your next cooking experience. So while we're going through this training, start brainstorming or writing notes on the things that you're going to take away that you're going to do differently. You're going to make a conscious effort to either start doing or to stop doing or to change how you're doing it going forward. So keep the end in mind while you're listening. What have we got in the chat box here? So Mandy said, nothing in particular, but I take on as much training as I can as it will make me a better consultant in the long run. Boom, nailing it, Mandy. Andrea's keen to get some bookings, perfect. And Angie said gaining more confidence and learning better ways to close, beautiful. And M said tweaking with new tips and tricks. Ooh, okay, well let's do it. Thank you for that, guys. Alrighty, so let's have a look at our little PowerPoint here. What I've added, usually this slide isn't in there because at the moment we're pretty excited to be able to offer our customers, existing and potential, a really cool twist on the existing menu. So the Lunchbox cooking experience menu, that's what our focus is. You really want to get those forward bookings in the system. So today you'll notice that I will talk a little bit more about the Lunchbox cooking experience menu than what you may have seen in the past. So here's just some tips for a really great training session. Obviously mute to avoid any distracting background noise. If you're getting that unstable video connection, just pop yourself, take the video off. Obviously, like we mentioned before, have your pen and paper handy. Simon says put your phone away. I can pop mine on silent actually, so thanks for the reminder. And any questions or comments in the chat box. Don't ever think that any question or comment is too silly or you're not confident enough to ask it. You're in a safe space. This is where you ask away. And keep your intention in mind. So what you just popped in that chat box, keep that in mind and plan on taking away at least 2 ideas that you're going to implement from now on. So how it's going to flow, let's look at that. Alrighty. So on each page we're going to be looking for 7 main things. So what is the overarching theme of this page? So looking at the flip chart, what's the main message or idea that you want to communicate on that page? We're going to be looking at what you're saying when you're on that page and what information are you presenting. We're going to be looking at what you're asking. So probably the most important thing with the new cooking experience as opposed to the old demo format is what questions are you asking? So to gain rapid rapport with the guests and truly understand how you and the Thermomix can actually serve them. So keeping in mind that, you know, time, health, energy and money. You must spend most of your time asking really great questions, but don't just ask the questions, make sure you invest the time listening. So we're also going to look at what you're doing. So physically, what mechanical task on the cooking experience are you performing at that time? on each page. What are your guests doing or saying? A suggested time frame, just so that you can keep it all running with flow and you're not there all day long. Short and sweet is the answer. And the link. So what can you actually say that links the theme of one page to the theme of the next? So that's where you'll really find your flow, is in the linking. Alrighty, what's next? Well, the flip chart, the welcome page. So the theme here is building rapport. So this is your first opportunity to make a really good impression and get into that rapport with the guests as they're arriving. Your RSVPs certainly help you with this, so encourage your hosts to actually forward those RSVPs on so that you can actually scan through the information, so that when someone comes in and they say, oh, hi, I'm Kate, you can say, oh, Kate, so lovely to have met you. I noticed that you had some needs around gluten-free or whatever they may have put on their RSVP form. Remind me at the end when we spend some time together to share with you some of my favourite gluten-free recipes. And instantly you've shown interest and you've made it all about them from the moment that they've shared their name with you. So use the tools that you've got, and the RSVPs are certainly one of those. So at the very start, you know, you're just starting to build that rapport with them. You're introducing yourself as a Thermomix consultant. You're asking them, you know, if they've seen the Thermomix in action before, or have they heard of the Thermomix before, and you're handing out the feedback forms and the pens. So that's what you're actually physically doing when we're on this page. What they're doing is they're starting to fill out the yellow section on the feedback form, and they're just kind of answering more questions as to whether they've seen the Thermomix in action before or not. Hey, we've got some latecomers. Thanks so much for joining us, guys. Feel free to use the chat box, and hopefully you've all got a pen and paper to take notes. Alrighty, so moving back to what we're doing, so that they're filling out the form. This page really only needs to take about 1.5 minutes, and you'll know that you're flowing. So then we move forward from this page onto the beautiful Bianca. So what you're doing on this page, the theme is communicating your purpose for being there today and what you want to do. So you'll notice that I've popped a little down in the right-hand corner of this PowerPoint, you'll see the lunchbox. So why not share that your intention is to share with them the Thermomix, but also to help them design their menu with a lunchbox theme for their cooking experience. So you're planting the seed at the very start that you would love to invite them to design their own menu using the lunchbox cooking experience. So what flavour scrolls would they like at their lunchbox cook-ex? Things like that. So start by welcoming everyone. You're going to be thanking the host, and you're going to be continuing with a brief statement about why you became a Thermomix consultant and what you love about having your own business. So if you haven't put pen to paper and written out what your why or your purpose statement, or maybe you haven't done it in a little while, now's a great time to do that. So set that down, jot it down. My homework is to write my why or purpose. What you're asking, so that's a bit about me. I'd love to know what brought you here today. What interests you in the Thermomix? So they're the questions that you're asking. What brought you here today and what interests you in the Thermomix? What you're doing is you're actually really listening to their answers, and you're remembering. So bank this information that they're sharing with you. A top tip is remembering their names and using their names throughout the cooking experience is actually one of the best ways to get really quick rapport building with your guests. Psychologists recommend using association as a remembering tool. So whatever it is that you're going to remember there, you know, if Kate was late, then whatever it is that's going to help you remember her name. So good little trick there. So who else do you know with the name that you might be able to picture them? You know, if you've got a friend, Sophie, go, oh, yeah. So just whatever strategy that you need to help you remember those names, but that it's really important that you try and do that. So what are your guests saying or doing? They're actually opening up about how they came to be with you today, and I guess the source of their curiosity. It could be a friend or neighbour. Again, a nice, keep it short and sweet, 1.5 to 2 minutes is what you want. And then the linking. So this is where it's important. So before we just go, oh yeah, so what are you, what are you doing? Sorry guys, I'm getting sidetracked here. I've written way too many notes. So the next page is where it talks about the global community, but you need to have a linking statement. So try and link to this page. So our vision at Thermomix is to improve the lifestyles of people all over the world. Doesn't that flow nicely once you've finished building that rapport with them? So our vision, you've spoken about yourself, you've asked about them, and now you're sharing the vision. So our vision at Thermomix is to improve the lifestyles of people all over the world. And then you fly into the global community page where we talk about our local support. So what you're actually saying here is you're communicating the stability of an established global company and making the quality association with German engineered products. What you're saying, so Vorwerk are a German company with a global reach. They have been established for 130 years, and Thermomix in Australia are a family-owned company since 2001. So we're sharing the family side of it, but we're really promoting the fact that it's quality at its best. The questions that you're asking, what comes to mind when you think of German products? Short and sweet, and it's one of those questions that most people say, really good quality. So what you're doing, you're just giving them that quick brief overview and they're actually listening. So short and sweet, this one. The linking to go to the next page of your flip chart from here is, so that's a little bit about Thermomix. Let's find out some more about you. And this is the gold pages. This is where you really find out so much more about them. We call them the onion layers, the onion pages, because it's like peeling back the layers to get to the middle of it. So this really is all about them. Today's all about you and what's important in your kitchen. So ask the guests to record their preferences in the pink section. So they're filling out the pink section. You're just asking lots of questions. Doing that active listening as well. And don't just ask one question. Ask another question, so layer it. So if you say, what's most important to you when it comes to cooking? And they say, oh, healthy eating. Make sure you add another layer to that and say, tell me a little bit more about what healthy eating means to you. Because you're going to get a really clear picture. What healthy eating is to some person is totally different to another. So this page is pretty lengthy. It's about 5 minutes. And the gold is in the questioning and the listening. What they're doing is they're just sharing their stories, any challenges that they have in the kitchen. That's where you get a bit of an idea of, they might be keen to save some time, or, they hate that they spend so much money on takeaway. This is where you're really getting a clear picture. So to link you from this page, once you've done all of that amazing questioning, before we start cooking together, let me introduce you to the payment options. So before you even move to the page that's got the dollar figures on there, you've already mentioned that, so you're preempting them for what's coming. The linking is so important. So the key message on this page is we're not afraid to share the price. It's all about options. You intend to demonstrate how the Thermomix is all-inclusive and exceptional value for money. The other key message in here is the payment choices, and also the option to buy the Thermomix and chip for $2,089, or the Thermomix for $2,089 and the cookie for $189. So Zip Money really makes owning a Thermomix affordable for everyone. What you're saying here is exactly what we've just touched on, but you really want to say it with confidence. You're mentioning that it's an all-inclusive price so that they know that they actually get everything that they see. With the option to add a cookie. Remember, the Thermomix is still the star, even though we're all incredibly excited about the cookie. We do recognise that it may still not be for everybody. And you want to touch on the fact that we offer many affordable payment options, including our new partner, Zip Money. So the linking to the next page, so the following page is the Let's Start Cooking, but to link on into that, once you've given them a rundown of the price and got them a little bit curious about, what are those payment options? How much a week am I going to be up for? You've just created curiosity. You haven't gone into detail on the payment details. We're going to roll on over and get to the cooking page. So now let's roll over to my business partner. Right there, just by using that language of my business partner, you're sharing with them that you actually take this seriously. You're not just there to chill out with them and share this funky kitchen appliance with them. It's actually a business. And so anyone that's in your audience that's there is actually, that might trigger a little spark for them and go, oh, business opportunity. And so just gauge that when you say over to my business partner, just check what people's responses are so that when you do get to the later in the flip chart where you talk about the business opportunity, you can probably spend a little bit more time channeling that information to them because it'll be a little bit more relevant if they have shown you that they're interested. So now over to my business partner. This is the fun bit, right? So a dish for them. Let them choose their dishes. If they're kind of like, oh no, I'm right, I don't want to cook. It's really, really important that you don't do the cooking. It's hard, I know. It's easier, it's quicker for us to do it, but please don't. Be really controlled on this page and keep the flip chart in your hand. Sorry, I haven't got one on me, but just keep your flip chart so that you're not tempted to do the cooking. It's really important that you are facilitating the cooking experience, not doing the cooking experience. So explain the 3 cooking modes quickly. Ask the guest to make a particular dish and why. So why did they choose that dish? You want to talk about the aprons, so show the guests, just how to attach the lid and access the turbo and knead. That's really all you need to be showing them. The rest is pretty much if they can read, they can cook, as you know. And when you're handing out the aprons, you can tell them, you can actually buy or earn any of the accessories that you see me using today. What they're doing is they're washing their hands, obviously, popping on the aprons. Great tool there to have extra aprons on hand. If you've got a couple, take them along to your cooking experiences because it just really creates another layer to the energy when they've got the apron on. They really feel a part of it. Certainly helps with recruiting as well. So this is just, again, a quick page. It's a 1 minute. They've washed their hands. They've got their aprons on. You've given them a quick rundown on the Thermomix. And then you want to link it to the next cooking page. So you can say, let's start cooking. Em, are you on the chat box?
Yeah, sorry, it took me a tick to get off mute.
Sorry?
It just took me a tick to take it off mute. And you just great tip. I only have 1 apron. I'll have to stock up.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, I'd never even thought of that. That's such a good idea.
Yeah, it's a winner. It really makes them feel a part of it.
Yeah. Super. See, getting something out of it already.
Oh, well, I've picked 1 book so far. I'm still nervous, can you tell?
You're doing great.
Great audience. Thanks, guys. Alrighty, so what's next? Fresh and nutritious. So this is the first wow moment. Explain the manual mode and what functions they are experiencing. You're asking, how would your family like this dish? What else could you make using these functions? Use the images as prompts. Don't run through those and go, oh, this is a green smoothie, or this is a beetroot salad, or you really don't want to spend too much time on this page. You really want them to just identify what they would make. If they look at it and go, oh, what's that? And you can say, oh, that's a beetroot salad. What would be one of the salads that you could see you and your family making when you got a Thermomix on your kitchen bench? That kind of language, it gets them to start visualizing that Thermomix on their kitchen bench. What else could you make using these functions? So what you're doing is you're just guiding the guest through the Fruity Dream or the sorbet. So one guest is actually creating, and the others are considering what flavours they would like. And then the guest will actually serve it. So the one who's not cooking or making the sorbet, the others will be serving it out in the little sorbet cups. Very good.
Nadia, just before we move on, a couple of the other girls have got some good ideas around additional add-ons for, you know, like set drops. And Mandy was pointing out about using...
I can barely hear you, Em. Sorry. I'll just jump in the chat box. Is it in there? Because I popped one on someone the other day at a consultant's demo and he immediately went into presentation mode. He's already in sales, has since put in an EOI. Woo! That's amazing. Very cool, Mandy. So you can point out to non-Thermomix owners that they can purchase the accessories like spatulas and thermoservers this month. Absolutely. Yeah. So that's a good little prompt that's on the bottom of the page there with the extra bowl, blade and lid set. You know, so if you had an existing owner, you could say, you know, have you got a second bowl and blade set? And if they say no, so, you know, are you happy? Just bank that so that when you have that personal contact time, you can say, I noticed earlier that you said you didn't have a second bowl and blade set. Would you like for me to give you a call when we've got that as a discounted host reward? Or are there any other accessories that I can order you? Because remember, you get your mix shop commission in addition to your sales commission. So share that as well. And they don't have to have a Thermomix to love the spatulas or the thermoservers. Good tip. Thank you, Mandy. Alrighty. So once you've, you know, made the Fruity Dream and the sorbet with them, you move on to the baking pages. So I think to roll on, own your own linking statement, what feels comfortable for you. I always used to say, you know, who loves to bake? Who here is a Betty Crocker? Just try and ask a question. If they're like, oh no, I don't like baking, then you can say, oh good, the Thermomix can do it for you. You can just pop it in the oven. If they say that they do, say, you know, you're going to take it to a whole nother level. Let's talk about how you can bake to perfection. So the theme on this page is all about weighing, so the scales, mixing, kneading, milling and grinding. Explain the guided cooking mode. So while cooking, highlight the functions demonstrated, point out the accessories that are being used from the mix shop. So down the bottom there, if you've got any of those accessories, take them along. The bread tin, the bread knife, it's always handy. Some people just like to see it, and all of our accessories are of the highest quality. So it's great for them to actually pick up those rose gold tins and go, whoa, that is really good quality. So what you're asking is, what else could you make with that? Have you made your own bread before? How do you like the Fruity Dream? Who in your family could cook with guided mode? So getting them to think about, oh yeah, I've got a teenage son, this is going to be great. Or, you know, nothing can hold hubby back, he can read, he can cook. So get them to start thinking about who's going to be using the Thermomix when they get one on their kitchen bench. Again, you're just facilitating, you're not doing any of the cooking, you're just showing the guest the bowl, the self-clean. It's a perfect time to do it after you've kneaded, and then you're popping the dough aside. So make sure you take your thermomat if you've got one, and use that to help the bread rise. What they're doing, so one of them is cooking, the others are enjoying that Fruity Dream, and they're discussing what they would make. This is the perfect time to say, today we've made, you know, basic bread. Who would like to host a cooking experience where we can actually put a twist on it and turn the dough into scrolls and make stuff that's really, really relative to lunch boxes now that it's that time of year. So drop the lunchbox cooking experience bomb on this page as well. And then you want to start talking about the real food page, and just a nice little linking statement, which I love, is now let's turn up the heat. And that just rolls you nicely into, oops, it's not letting me skip. Sorry guys, there we go. That's what we're looking for. So real food, fast to the table. So this is what they're referring to when we mentioned before, turn up the heat. So what you're saying is you're discussing the functions while they're cooking. You know, the saute, the cooking, the stewing, the braise, the minced. Use the picture as prompts and introduce other cookbooks. So what are some of your favourite main meals? You know, some of the questions that you need to be asking on this page is, do you buy pre-minced meat? What main meal do your family love? So you get a bit of an idea of what they're having now. And how would you use the mincing, braising or stirring function? So how would you use any of these functions that you've seen today? Get them to look outside the box. You know, a lot of people have never thought of making their own mince, but the idea of seeing it done so quickly, or knowing that they can do it so quickly without all the nasties in it, it's really sparks a thought for them. You're doing lots of asking and listening. What they're doing, so one's obviously cooking that main meal. The others are creatively considering what meals they would like to make. So the bread making guest will then come back to shape the dough during the cooking time. So while that main meal's cooking, the timing then is for the dough to go in the oven. So that's the real food fast to the table, and then you want to link into our full steam ahead and say, you know, well, we've talked about some of your one pot wonders. Let's talk some more about heating food, who here steams. So it's a great way to open it and lead you on into the full steam ahead page by asking who here steams their food. I think it's really important to ask that. And if they say, yes, I do, I have an electric steamer, say that's fantastic. You obviously know the benefits, the nutritional benefits of actually steaming your food. Relate the questions to what you already know about the guests. So if they mentioned earlier about the health or the family size, if they mentioned that they've got a family of 7, you're really going to be able to connect with them, because we know that the varoma layered with the simmering basket and the bowl, you can really make some big size meals that are going to be perfect for that person with a larger family. So what you're doing is you're offering an example of what your favourite varoma dish is, and just remind them that all the books come with the chips as well, and you can mention the cookie as well. So find a dish that you would love to talk about on this page. Mine, as a consultant, was always Quirky Joe's coconut rice with satay chicken. Oh, it's just amazing. You know, I used to say, you know, I love that the Thermomix just quickly chops, you know, all the garlic and ginger. You put your coconut cream and you create like what the rice steams in. So you've got your rice in the basket, you've got your chicken and all your vegetables in the top, and it steams and it cooks a complete meal all in one. And then at the end, what's left in the bowl, you add some cashews, a little bit of veggie stock, some soy sauce for flavour, and you mix that up just for, you know, 30 seconds, and you've got this rich, thick, creamy sauce that you pour over your coconut rice with your chicken and vegetables. And it's great for leftovers the next day because it actually makes quite a lot of food. So you're talking about what you've made, but that's really the only time that you want to be talking about what you love, what you make in the Thermomix. Remember, the rest of the cooking experience while you're going through the flip chart, it's all about them. If you want to share some of your favourites, save that for the personal contact time. Or some of our consultants actually have a little printout that they can take along, or you can have a digital version that you can send them where it's just like, you know what, these are some of my favourite meals, and list them. What are your favourite meals? What book are they in and what page number are they on? Or what's the link? And just put a URL attached to it, and that can be a part of your follow-up email where you share that information with them, and it's personal. It's all about what you love about your Thermomix. So the main meal's cooking. They're all really involved in the discussion about steaming and layering, and then you want to link on into our next page by saying, let's look at what we have experienced so far. Beautiful language there around what we have experienced, so, you know, all in it together. So, what are your thoughts so far? That's really what this page is all about. You want to reflect on each guest's needs and what they've told you so far. So Mandy, you shared with me earlier that you ran out of time to make good meals each night. How can you see the Thermomix working for you? Such a powerful question. You've taken on board what they've said earlier, and then you've asked them a really relative, thought-provoking question. And what you're doing is you just ask the question and then you just listen. What they're doing is they're just answering each of your thought-provoking questions, and then they start to actually discuss that with each other. They'll bounce off each other and add to the conversation. So then you want to link in, before we move to the cooking inspiration page, you want to lead into it. So you say, oh, that's really exciting. Let's talk more about recipes. And then that leads you on to here. So now that you've thought about what you would love to be making in your Thermomix, let's talk about how you would find your recipes. It's all about choice. So getting them to identify, you know, where they're finding them. Is it books? Is it recipe chips, or would it be the cookie? So you kind of want to identify if they're online people, they're going to love cookie dough and the cookie. If they're specific, they love books, say, right, I've got some really great books here with me today. Make sure I share some of those with you at the end when we spend some time together. So just a quick page, 1 minute. Recipes are just one way to support you on your Thermomix journey. And that's the linking statement that takes you through to Your Thermomix, Your Journey Starts Here page. So remember, your flip chart's designed to support that feedback form being completed correctly. So when you notice those little images with the pencil, you'll notice on this page they're filling out the blue section. Just make sure that you give them those prompts to do so. So, moving on to Your Journey Starts Here. Recipes are just one way that we support you on your Thermomix journey. And then we're on to this page here. So what you're actually saying, this is all about being supportive. There are so many ways that I can support you to get the most out of your Thermomix. It starts with a basic cookbook and chip. There's cooking classes, and remember, it's an all-inclusive package. You get everything that you need to get started on your Thermomix journey. This page needs to run for about 2 minutes. I really recommend that you, you know, sell yourself a little bit here, I guess. Share with them what you do. So what is it that you do as a consultant that you can identify as a key step to something that your customers love? Like, one of your customers might have thanked you for something, or you know that, you know, you're offering that next level because you've set up a little Facebook page or a Facebook community page where you're consistently inspiring your customers. You know, what is it that you do as a consultant that ticks some boxes? Share that with them. You know, if you do local markets regularly, say, you know what, I'm also, you know, the first Sunday of every month, if you ever need any help or support, pop down and see me at the farmers markets on, you know, wherever it is. Share that with them so that they know that you're going to be there going forward. You know, I send out a monthly MailChimp. Usually once we verbalise something, we're a bit more inclined to keep up with it and do it too. So, you know, set yourself some goals of what you actually want to offer as a consultant this year, or what have you done in the past that you're going to continue doing that you do well, and share it on this page. So 2 minutes on this page, and the Thermomix is affordable for everyone. Let's take a look at that now. So again, we rehash on the payment, and this is where we go into a bit more detail. So affordable payment options, you know, what you're saying, you give them that brief overview. So the option 1, 2, and 3 on the right-hand side of this page. Any current finance offers. So at the moment, we've got our awesome 12 months interest-free. You can reference the savings versus repayments. So if you've got those cost-saving charts, have some handy. Can I say, do not go putting all of that in your green folder. Those green folders, you really just want the feedback form in it. If you put your brochures in there, if you put your, you know, the breakdown of the payment option, like the interest-free, if you put any of your cost-saving charts in there, you're actually missing an opportunity to gift that to them and start a one-on-one conversation with them at the PCT time. So keep those folders very basic, and you know, if you want to have your apply now with your consultant number on it, have that on the left-hand side so that, you know, if any of them are super keen, at least they can text away and start getting pre-approval before the end of the cooking experience. But just keep that in the feedback form. Set up a PCT folder, and we'll talk about that a little bit later on in this training, to give you some more ideas. So let them know that you'll share that with them at the PCT or the one-on-one time. You know, what payment options and recipe access options appeal to you guys most? And that's a gentle question, but don't hold back from asking it, because it actually gets them to start thinking about if and when they're ready to get a Thermomix, how would that work, or what would that look like payment-wise? And it's all in the tone of your voice of how you ask that, as to whether it can come across pushy or not. So just say, you know, just out of curiosity, out of those, what payment options, you know, and recipe access options appeals to you the most? What they're doing is they're just answering your question. If they don't make eye contact with you on that at all, then just drop it and move on. But just a quick page, 1.5 minutes, and then we look at moving on to how you can make a difference page in our flip chart. So moving from this page, you say, you know, let me tell you a little bit more about the business opportunity. And this is where you'd kind of make eye contact with that lady who kind of raised an eyebrow earlier when you mentioned over to my business partner. So this is where we talk about the value of the business. What you're saying is you're just sharing your personal story of what the Thermomix business has actually given you. Keep it brief, but it needs to be genuine and meaningful. So this is your other point of homework. If you haven't got this down pat, please do it. So what is your personal story of what the Thermomix business has given you, and just write it in a very brief but very genuine and meaningful way. And if you're struggling to really get the wording right, or you're not sure what you want in that section, then at your next one-on-one that you have with your team leader or your BDM, ask them for a bit of help, and they'll help you brainstorm. You could just write down some of the words that you think of when you think about your Thermomix business, and then you can just make a sentence or two based on those words that come to mind. That's a really nice, quick and easy way to do it. So what are your thoughts on having your own business? Who do you know who would be great at this? Because you might have 3 people in front of you who may not be interested in the business opportunity, but guess what? They may know someone who would be great at it. So ask the question. So you're also prompting them to fill out the green section, and that's on the feedback form. So then you link yourself to now let's design your cooking experience. So today we've made da-da-da-da-da, but we have got all of these other great menu options. Who do you know that would love to see the Thermomix in action? And what are some of the dishes that you'd like to make at your cooking experience? So get them to start thinking about who they're going to invite to theirs. So when they're filling out the blue section there, you prompt them to do that. What you're doing is you're also presenting the thermoserver to the host. I know a hot little tip, I used to just wrap the thermoserver, if it was a delivery demo, delivery cookex, I'd wrap the thermoserver, I'd just buy cheap brown paper with raffia, bought some nice green raffia, themed with Thermomix obviously, and when I'd give that thermoserver to the host, I'd say, you know, this is a thank you gift and this is also your host reward. So thanks so much for your time today and bringing your great friends together so that we could cook together. Yeah, and you know, people just go, oh, I want one of those. You know, it creates excitement having it wrapped up with a bow on it. Just another quick page, so 30 seconds on it. They're filling out the blue page, but look at all those thermoservers down the bottom there. Great opportunity to say, you know, which thermoservers would you like? And then remind them you don't need to have a Thermomix to love the thermoservers. These are exclusive to Thermomix. And then we move on to our thank you page. So, you know, again, just thanking the host again, recap your intentions. So, you know, I introduced myself earlier as a Thermomix consultant, and this is my business partner, and my intention today was to connect with you guys and have a really exciting cooking experience. I hope that you've enjoyed it as much as I have, and I hope that you've enjoyed it so much that you look forward to hosting your own cooking experience and inviting some of your friends to come and cook together. So just recap on that little booking message in your own words, whatever feels comfortable for you. but don't end the cooking experience with a thank you for coming. You need to share, recap on what that intention was. So that's at the front of their brain again. You know, what you're asking, any last questions before we all sit down together, and I'll spend some time with each of you one-on-one. And then, you know, the packing up. When it comes to the packing up, hot tips, take a bag with you. Don't go to the kitchen and spend half an hour washing up. You actually just need to have a bag there that you put the empty sorbet cups into, that you can just take home and run through your dishwasher or wash when you get home. You've just spent the most amazing you know, time building rapport with them, and if you actually don't go and sit with them and have those one-on-one conversations and go to the kitchen, you just undo everything that you've done. So please, if there's one thing you take away from today, make it be that. The personal contact time needs to happen. You've spoken about it throughout the cooking experience, and they've actually got an expectation, and guess what? They want some of those brochures. They want some of those cost-saving charts. They want to know what the host rewards are in detail. They want to know when you're open for business. So make sure you know when you're open for business. That, you know, take your diary or your iPad calendar with you so that you can actually look at that feedback form. And if it says, yes, I'd like to show the Thermomix to my friend, that's all you need. That's a booking right there. They've already indicated it. It's now your job not to let them down. So you can say, oh, that's the first thing you should do when you sit down with them, and say, okay, well, let's just quickly scan through your feedback form. Oh, I noticed here that you would like to share the Thermomix with your friends. So which day suits you better, a weekday or a weekend? And you've got your booking, and then you can start designing that awesome lunchbox. So what flavour scrolls do you want? Or, you know, Vegemite and cheese, or ham, cheese and sweet chili. You know, what flavour would you like to make on the day? So just keep that conversation rolling. So they're just kind of finishing the main meal and munching on the bread here. You pop your flip chart aside, and then you launch into that personal contact time, the golden opportunity, I call it. So can I just share with you, there's a really great recording. I'm not sure if you guys have heard it. Great recording. Nikki and I actually had a bit of a training jam, you'd call it, where we just kind of connected from afar and talked about personal contact time. So it's just a recording of our conversation with a bit of information in there that really kind of supports personal contact time, gives you guys a bigger picture of why it's so important, and some tips on how to do it really well. So I might actually find that recording and pop it on the collective page, so that you guys can listen to that or watch that in your own time if you haven't had a chance already. But it's really, really important that you make the most of that time. So before we all go and get into the day, I'd love to know what stood out for you today. If you're able to mute yourself and share, I would love that. Alternatively, feel free to use the chat box. But yeah, what was first question? What stood out for you today?
I'll speak up.
Somebody, anybody. Thanks, Mandy. Legend. Share with us.
PCT time. I struggle with that, but just from listening to you then, I'm really excited for my next CookX on Saturday to put a few things in motion. So
Awesome.
The sitting down to eat, I get caught up like washing up. Like Steph's told me, just put it in a bag and go. And I'm like, oh, but what if they think I'm like, oh, gross, she doesn't wash their stuff.
No, and if you feel like you need to justify, just say, you know what, I never wash up at Cooking Experience because your time is so valuable to me, so I'm just going to pop them in there, run them in the dishwasher when I get home. So tell me, who's first? Who wants to connect?
And I usually find there's like a grandma there or a mother-in-law, and she's like filling up the sink, washing my things. I'm like, oh, thanks.
Yeah, I know the feeling, because we've always, I don't know, you're probably a bit like me, Mandy, brought up to don't leave someone's house without offering to wash up, you know, take your shoes off at the door. So you're kind of like, I'm just trash to do it. I really should do that before I come and sit down and
So I've made a whole list of things to print out, to put in maybe my own folder to bring out at the end, like you said, when you're sitting down to eat and having the interest-free, the cost savers. And I think I have to look for one, do they call it fake away? So instead of getting takeaway.
The takeaway, yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
That was on the collective page. This collective page is like the golden toolbox this year.
Okay.
Like everyone's just sharing so much on there. So just go into the files section of that collective page.
Yeah.
If you've got any ideas or inspo or cost savings, make sure you put it on that page and just add it as a file. Because you might like that fakeaway menu is awesome, but if you find something else that you want to add to it, we can always edit. Most of those documents are somewhere on file in Word, so we can always add and edit. So yeah,
Okay,
but that's
thank you.
fun. The fakeaway, the cost savings. If you guys are making your like back to school next week, take a photo of your lunchbox and put it on the page, because you don't know who you're inspiring when it comes to other consultants, and we can share those with our customers as well. Yeah, so the PCT time focus was a bit of a standout for you, Mandy. So you like that most. What will you do differently in next cooking experience? You've identified you're going to print out some stuff and have a bit of a separate folder rather than putting too much info in their folder. Is that right? Game plan. Thanks for sharing, Mandy. Thank you. Alrighty, who else wants to share? Angie?
That was a big one for me as well. And also probably not talking about what I like to cook. I tend to talk about myself a bit too much, probably.
We all do. We're passionate.
I get excited about my favourite dishes. So that's something that, yeah, I'll scale back a bit more and focus more on them.
Awesome. I can totally relate to what you're saying, because it was really hard for me. I used to go into cooking experience and say, oh, I make this and I make that and I make this. And this one lady actually said to me once, she was my reality check. She said, oh, well, aren't you awesome? And I was like, oh, no, I didn't. I wasn't selling myself as Susie Homemaker and Wife of the Year. I was literally just saying, I could not do all this without the Thermomix. And she's like, oh, yeah. And so I went home and I was like, whoa, I actually need to be really conscious of what I'm saying and how it comes across, because we get so excited, we are so passionate, and we love that we can make so much so quickly. But I think it is really important. And a good tip, which helped me, was when I would hear myself say, oh, I make blah, 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 I go, oh, I make this great cake using almond meal. You know, what would be something that you could see yourself making in your kitchen that kind of links back to it? So it was like if I heard myself, rather than just cut off and go, oh, and change the subject, I'd go, oh, I can make, or I'd go, what would you make? Like just kind of put it back to them. So it's always got to be about them. Once they've got a Thermomix on their kitchen bench, they'll be saying, oh, what do you do for breakfast? Or what do you do for lunches? That's the time to share your, you know, what works for you in your kitchen once they've already got one on their bench. Beforehand, it just needs to be all about them. It'll take a little while. Don't be too hard on yourself, but yeah, that's cool that you've identified that. Well done. Anything differently that you might do at your next cooking experience, Angie?
You probably just really make it more about them and really spend more personal time. I do sometimes clean up afterwards as well, so that's something that, yeah, I'll just take a bag and put it in there and sit down and yeah, be more with them.
Yeah, perfect. Very cool. So write down, guys, what 2 ideas will you commit to doing from now on? You don't need complicated ideas to make progress. You need a couple of simple ideas that you can apply. That's a hot tip from Tony Robbins. But that's pretty much it from me. I'm going to stay online for a bit, so if anyone's got any questions that they want to ask, or any feedback, so we can make this training bigger and better for next time. But I just said thank you, and not just thank you from me, but thank you from ACE as well. We're pretty excited to be embarking on this amazing opportunity to support ACE, who's through the Smith family, as you know, and the state telethon we put together because we know that after Christmas it's sometimes hard to get back into the swing of it. So the state telethon starting today So Thursday, Friday, Saturday, just jump on as many trainings as you can. We're going to try and record them all so that you can watch them again or in your own time if you missed one. Going to have some guest speakers, so keep your eye on the prize, that Queensland Collective page, see what's coming up. But if you can commit to making 20 calls as a minimum over the next 3 days, we'd be super, super grateful. We've got a goal to make 10,000 calls, and we know that when you make the calls that you get the bookings. So, you know, pick up the phone. Don't let anything hold you back. Just do it, Michelle Bridges says in a slightly different way. But yeah, just go and do it. Make those calls, minimum of 20, and then share with us once you've done it and what your results were, because this is what's going to get you back to business. This is what's going to create momentum for you in 2018. And I'm excited to be playing with you guys, so I can't wait for the next training. Thank you for being easy on me. I promise I won't be so nervous next time.
Thank you.
Thanks, guys. Have an awesome day.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Bye.
Nadia, I've got a question.